Everybody, that's for life here, bringing guys a brand new anime deck discussion. Today we are talking about the Earthbound Prisoners and Earthbound Servants. So, these two sub-archetypes of the overall Earthbound archetype are, well, they're Earthbounds. With a different playstyle. They're from Arc V. So, whereas Earthbound Immortals are all about tributing, and, well, they're literally all just big boss monsters and stuff, and don't really do much other than just beat down your opponent and attack directly, and your opponent can't attack them, and it's really trolly. And you got the Earthbound Prisoners, who are like the main deck monsters for this, and then you got the Earthbound Servants, who are kind of like Earthbound Immortals, but not at that level of power. But however, this deck is still really cool. Like, I really want Konami to print it. I've been waiting so long to talk about it because two reasons. First and foremost, I wasn't on YgoPro yet, and I wanted to see if Konami would actually go and print it, because they've been on this like, hey, let's print every single anime deck ever. But however, they didn't. They haven't, and I don't know if they are, and it's driving me nuts because I really want to play this deck. It's so cool, but oh well. So this deck is, as you can tell, it's very much a revision of the Earthbound Immortals. Well, not so much a revision as it is just a reimagination. This deck does have some synergy with the Earthbound Immortals in that, for instance, this guy right here, he's easy tribute fodder for the deck, and a lot of their support helps with both this Earthbound deck and the old Earthbound deck. So, enough like blabbering, let's get on with the actual discussion. So, Earthbound Prisoner Stone Sweeper, level 5 Fiend Dark, 1600 attack, 1600 defense. If there's a card in the field zone, you can spell summon this card from your hand. So, right away, this guy is easy Synchro fodder, easy Xyz fodder, easy Fusion fodder, easy Tribute fodder. That's another thing I want to mention, is that if you have two of these guys in your hands and you have a field spell, activate the field spell, special summon two of these guys, tribute them off for an Earthbound Immortal. That is one thing you could do, but ideally you would want to be going for one of the Synchros or a Fusion or something. So, really good effect. It's basically Cyber Dragon, but if there's a field spell out, bang, you can just summon it. Next up is Earthbound Prisoner Line Walker. He is a tuner, a Fiend of Dark, level 3, 800 attack, 1100 defense. This effect is going to seem very confusing at first, but I'll explain it more so later. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extract, then banish this card from the graveyard, special summon it. It doesn't do anything other than just treating that monster as if it was just special summoned right then and there. And that is very integral to one of the deck's boss monsters, and I will cover that once we get to the boss monsters. So, Earthbound Prisoner Groundkeeper, the last of the monsters, sadly. That's the biggest problem I have with this, is that there's only 3 main deck monsters. I feel like there should be at least 2 to 3 more. So, Earthbound Prisoner Groundkeeper, he's a level 1 Fiend Dark Tuner, 300 attack, 300 defense. Each turn, the first Earthbound monster you control that would be destroyed is not destroyed. So, obviously, if you control him and you have a bunch of Earthbounds out and your opponent tries to Regeki, everybody won't be destroyed. But however, if like your opponent attacks into this thing, it won't be destroyed the first time, second time it will be. So this guy is really kind of cool. I like him a lot. The protection's nice. I wish that he had some kind of special summoning effect. Same thing with the other tuner. Like, really, honestly, why is it that only this guy can special summon himself? I feel like the other guys should be able to do that if you have a field spell out. You know, save that normal summon. That would be really nice. But however, aside from that, I really do like this guy. Now then, onto the spells, and this is where the deck gets fun. So this is the best card in the deck here. Underworld Resonance, Synchro Fusion. Fusion summon 1 Fusion monster and Synchro summon 1 Synchro monster from your X deck using monsters you control that can be used as materials for both. So, I have Stone Sweeper and I have Groundkeeper out on the field. I activate this card, and then I use them for a fusion summon of Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlina and Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlin, because they fulfill the requirements for both. So therefore I'm able to Synchro and Fusion summon at the same time using 2 monsters. That is really good and very scary. If this card were to come out with this exact text, okay, and they didn't restrict it to Earthbounds or do one specific archetype, this card could very much make an impact into the meta. Like, honestly, like, could you imagine, like, if certain decks out there, especially like Odd Eyes, Performapals, you know, decks that like have access to both synchros and fusions, you know, like that'd be so crazy, but also so cool at the same time because you're doing both for one spell, and it's just so cool. So honestly, if this card were to be printed along with everything else for this deck, I would like to see it restricted only to Earthbounds, because I can guarantee you that if this card were to be printed with this exact card text, somebody out there will break it. I just get that feeling. It comes off as a, yeah, this is going to be broken if it comes out with that text. Next up is Earthbound Salvation. If there's a face-up field spell, card in the field zone, add one Earthbound monster and one spell card from your graveyard to your hand. So this card, while I was playing around with this deck, if you have multiple Salvations, you can just keep on looping them because you can add Salvation itself back to your hand. I really like this card. It's really good. Gets you back your Underworld Resonance, gets you back your monsters. If this card were to be printed, I can almost guarantee you it'd have a once per turn clause on it and would not be able to grab itself, which would be very annoying, but it would make sense. Really good card. I like it a lot. The biggest hindrance to this card and the next one is that they both require you to have a field spell out. Now, granted, though, while yes, this deck is very field spell oriented because it's supposed to be, you know, because it's a reference to the old Earthbound playstyle of having to have a field spell out to be able to do anything. That's really nice and all and really cool, but however, it restricts the deck a lot because if you have no field spell out and your opponent doesn't have a field spell, you're kind of screwed. Also, this deck only has one field spell, and it honestly doesn't do much for the actual archetype. So, really, honestly, I would like to see at least one, maybe two more field spells, just simply to give us some variety, and also so that we can actually have a field spell that does something for the archetype. Next up is the quick play spell card, Earthbound Fusion. If there's a face-up field card in the field zone, fusion summon one fusion monster from your action deck using monsters you control as material. If this card were to be printed, I would really like to see it be able to use monsters in your hand as well. I hate it when they restrict fusion summoning only to monsters on field. That drives me nuts because it's something you generally don't do, and it's just not as good as being able to fusion from hand. So if this card were to be printed, I would really like to see it be able to fusion summon from hand as well. Also, I'm trying to figure out which Earthbounds those are on the thing there. I think that's Skilla Piscu. That kind of looks like the whale there. I can't really tell. Next up, we have Earthbound Prison. Negate any effect that would change the attack of a face-up monster or monsters on the field, so you don't ever have to worry about Honest while playing this deck, which is kind of cool. If this card if this card in the field zone is destroyed, half the life points of the player that destroyed it, and if you do, negate the effects of all face-up monsters they control. So that is really, really good. And since, you know, seeing as how a lot of people don't like to read cards, so like look at it, you know, go too long, didn't read, and then oh hey, look at that, they lost half their life points and and all their monsters are destroyed. That, or if like they do something and like let's say you're going against super heavy samurais, they go into Suten Doji. Suten Doji must destroy all spell trap cards, so while they may be aiming to destroy your back row, they'll also be destroying the field zone, and then all their stuff will be negated. Honestly, if this card were to be printed, I don't see a lot of people actually like being stupid enough to destroy it, unless like you said it, because it doesn't say it has to be face up. Honestly, if it were to be printed, it'd probably be specified that it has to be face up. But, however, it is a nice effect. I do like it. My biggest issue with this field spell, it doesn't do anything for the archetype. Like, it really doesn't. Like, why can't I search out a Earthbound whenever I activate it or anything? This deck has no search power, by the way. So, honestly, that'd be really cool if they could add some way to be able to benefit the Earthbounds whenever you activate it or use its effects and stuff. That'd be really nice. Like, maybe it's just because I play way too much of Subterrors, but like being able to search out an Earthbound whenever you activate it would be really cool. I don't know, maybe just me. Now then, there is one more spell card that is not on YgoPro yet, which is driving me nuts. And this is Earthbound Tundra. It's another field spell. Or no, wait, no, it's a continuous. But it's a field spell. I don't get it. It says field spell up here, but it says continuous over there. I I don't get it. Anyways, so neither player can summon monsters in defense position. Face-up attack position monsters on the field cannot change their battle positions. If a player adds an action card to their hand, their opponent sends all action cards from their hand to the graveyard. The opponent of the player that added the action card cannot activate action cards in response to this effects activation. Sorry, I had like something going on in my mouth. If a player has an action card in their hand, that player must add an additional action card to their hand. But when they do so using this effect, banish the added card. And if they do, make one face-up monster their opponent controls lose 300 attack, and they do that. Inflict 300 damage to your opponent. Okay, so I see why this isn't on Devpro yet. Because it's so convoluted. And it revolves around action cards. So, okay, so there it is. Okay, so it is a field spell. So, if this card were to be printed, it'd have to completely redo the effect because there is no action cards IRL. So, if this were to be printed, it'd probably just be a card that, like, does anti-effects in regarding to adding cards to hand. So like, oh hey, instead of action card, if a player adds a card to their hand, their opponent sends all cards from their hand to the graveyard. That would be really stupid. And imagine comboing that with Dark Law. Oh my god. And then like, let's say the opponent of the player that added the card cannot activate cards in response to this effect's activation. I don't know. Like it would be, yeah, they would have to like completely just get rid of the word action there and just replace it with a card. So like if a player has a card in their hand, that player can add an additional card to their hand, but when they do so using this effect, banish the added card. That'd be very... it's a very complicated and interesting effect. And if it were to be printed, I'd be very intrigued to see how Konami goes about adapting it for the actual game. But it is another field spell, and if they were to just simply erase out the words action, it would be a pretty stupid field spell too, like, because being able to just get rid of everything in opponent's hand, prevent them from adding cards, prevent them from summoning stuff in defense, and this deck has a high attack power monsters, so yeah, that could be really good, but at the same time, I don't know if it will ever happen, even if this whole archetype does ever get printed. Like, it probably won't, sadly. So, first and foremost, now we get back to the trap card, sorry. So, counter traps. Well, Earthbound Magic Seal, almost skipped the name. It's a counter trap. When your opponent activates a spell card while you control a face-up card in your field zone, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. I really like this, being able to negate any spell card whenever your opponent tries to activate anything while you have a field spell out. And I like how it specifies that the field spell has to be in your zone, because then like you can't use it if your opponent has a field spell. And honestly, I'd like to see two more of these trap cards come out, like one that counters monsters and one that counters traps. That'd be really nice. That would just combine them all in one trap, as Konami has done in the past. But however, I don't know if they would ever do that. Like, honestly, that'd be really cool if they did, though. I really would like that, because this deck doesn't have very much defense. It's very offensive, and there's not very much defense. So adding an extra layer or two of protection would be really, really cool. Next up is Earthbound Beginning, another counter trap. By the way, I love this artwork mostly because it references the Earthbounds from the 5Ds. So when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while you have 3,000 or less life points, half the battle damage you take from this battle, and if you do, activate one field spell card from your deck. Really, really nice effect, being able to half the damage. Yes, you got to be in a very, very losing position, but however, it also gets you a field spell right away, so you can get back, so you can get a Prison, or you can get a Tundra, or heck, any other field spells that you might be playing. I really do like this trap card. I just wish that you didn't have to have such low life points to be able to use it. Now then, we get to the extract monsters. So, first and foremost for the synchros, and actually I'm going to cover these two together. Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlina for the first fusion, and Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlin for the first synchro. So these two combo well together. They're actually supposed to be out on the field side by side with each other. So, Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlin is a Dark Fiend, level 6, 2,000 attack, 1,000 defense. Earthbound Servant Geo Gremlina is literally the exact same stats and everything. I think this is just supposed to be a female of this. Like, just my guess, because it has an A at the end. I don't know. So, It needs an Earthbound Tuner plus one or more non-tuner Earthbound monsters, and Geo Griffon needs 2 Earthbound monsters to fusion summon into. So really, really combo well with Synchro Fusion. So, Geo Griffon's effect is, during your main phase 1, if this card was special summoned this turn and there is a face-up card in the field zone, you can target one monster your opponent controls. Your opponent chooses whether or not to destroy that monster. If that monster is destroyed, skip this turn's battle phase. Otherwise, gain life points equal to that monster's attack. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. Now that might seem kind of meh, but however, let's get to Geo Griffon. Once per turn, if an opponent's monster is destroyed by a card effect while there is a face-up card in the field zone, you can destroy as many monsters you control as possible, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined attack of those destroyed monsters. So, obviously, if like you target that monster and they do let you destroy it, Geo Griffon will destroy everything you control and then do damage equal to their attack power to your opponent's monster. So even though you can't conduct your battle phase, it'll be like you swung directly for both monsters. The issue with that obviously is that you won't have any monsters to protect yourself anymore. So the other thing is that to choose not to destroy it, you get life points, which is really nice. And then, oh hey, you can just fusion summon using these two. So really good effects. I like them a lot. They combine together to make a really, really funny combo. But however, if your opponent knows what you're doing, they're not going to let you destroy their monster. So I would like to see if maybe Geo Griffon did something else along with that. But however, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch because it does have a really powerful effect. Maybe it could have an effect that makes it to where that punishes your opponent if you do gain life points. Like, oh hey, you gain life points, your opponent takes the damage that you gained life points for. So like, oh hey, you target like an opponent's blue eyes, you gain 3,000, your opponent takes 3,000. That'd be really kind of cool and would really make your opponent decide if whether or not it's better to let you destroy their monster and then destroy all of your monsters, or if it's better just that you burn and gain. It'd be interesting. Then we get to the next synchro, Earthbound Servant Geo Griffon. This guy is pretty cool. He's level 8, 2,500 attack, 1,500 defense, Fiend Dark, 1 Earthbound Tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner Earthbound monsters. If an Earthbound monster or monsters you control is destroyed, you can target one monster your opponent controls to destroy it. If this card in your possession is destroyed while it is an Earthbound monster, I don't really get that, you can target one monster your opponent controls to destroy it. So, my biggest confusion with this is, if this card in your possession is destroyed while it is an Earthbound monster. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so I just remembered the whole circumstance of the duel that this guy was used in. There was a guy in the anime that the owner of the Earthbound servants was dueling against, and that guy had this like trap card that like took away the names of all monsters on the field. So that's where that like whole thing comes from. So honestly, if this were to be printed, and I don't think we're ever going to get that trap card that takes away the monsters' names, so they could really just, if this card is destroyed, target one monster your opponent controls, destroy it. I like both effects, being able to destroy monsters. I wish that you'd be able to destroy anything other than just monsters, but however, it kind of makes sense to also restrict it to just monsters. The other big thing is that it's also targeting, which is, you know, a big not good thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! At the moment. But still a really good monster, being able to kind of sort of control the board or so, kind of. And also kind of sort of pays for itself, being able to get rid of monsters and stuff. Then we get to Earthbound Servant Geo Kraken. This guy combos well with Line Walker and is kind of sort of a monster that you're supposed to use with him. So, Geo Kraken, level 8, 2,800 attack, 1,200 defense, 2 Earthbound monsters. Once per turn during your turn, if a monster is special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, you can destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each monster. So since your opponent really doesn't special summon much during your turn, and that goes for you as well, you don't really special summon too much during your opponent's turn, you can force that with Line Walker, because you banish him, target a monster your opponent controls, and then special summon it, and it's treated as if it was just special summoned right then and there during your turn, which can then trigger Geo Kraken's effect, destroying your opponent's board and burning them for 800 each. That can do a crap ton of damage, because just with one monster that's 800, 2, 16, it just climbs so much. I think 8 times 5, yeah, that's 4,000 damage at max. And that is just crazy amounts of damage. And it can still attack for 2,800 damage direct. That is really, 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 really good. And I like this guy a lot. He's really cool. And then we get to the deck's, quote, boss monster. The issue with this thing is that it doesn't do much for a boss monster, and what you need to put into it is just crazy. So, this is Earthbound Servant Geo Kraken. I can't believe I actually pronounced that right. So, level 10, Fiend Dark, 3k attack, 1800 defense. Obviously calling back to the Earthbound Immortals. I mean, look at the freaking artwork. It shows it arising from a, like, thingies. Here, I'll show you. Like, see how the Earthbounds are all coming out of the ground? It calls back to the Earthbound Immortals and has stats that are worthy of an Earthbound Immortal. But it's missing a few things to really be a true Earthbound Immortal. So, fusion summon this thing. You need an Earthbound Servant Fusion and an Earthbound Servant Synchro. Yeah, you need a fusion and a synchro to go into it, and specifically it needs to be Earthbound Servant monsters. That is a lot you need to invest into. Obviously, Underworld Resonance helps with that, as does Earthbound Fusion. In fact, actually, you're supposed to use Underworld Resonance to go into like 2 monsters, and then Earthbound Fusion into this guy. So what does Glacio the Bolas do? Well, if this card battles a fusion or a synchro monster while there is a face-up card in the field zone, that monster's attack becomes 0. That is it. For the amount of stuff you need to put into making this guy, all he does is drop a fusion or a synchro's monster's attack to 0 if he's battling it. And you have to have a field spell on your, you have to have a field spell too. That is so underwhelming. It's level 10. It's border like everything about this, the artwork, the story for whenever it was being summoned, the amount of effort you have to put into it. This guy should be as close to an extra deck Earthbound Immortal as possible. Okay, like honestly, if I could, I would make it to where this guy had the classic Earthbound Immortal effect to be able to attack directly and your opponent can't attack it. And I would put some sort of protection from card effects into it, whether it be destroyed by, to where it can't be destroyed by card effects, or targeted by card effects, or is just flat out unaffected by card effects. Because really, honestly, for the amount of effort you have to go into this thing should be a game winner. But it's not. It's so underwhelming. Like, compared to the rest of the monsters, heck, Geo Kraken is better than this thing. Heck, the combo with Geo Gremlina and Geo Gremlin is better than this thing. Like, it just... Don't get me wrong, it's good, but it counters only specific fusion and synchros, and you have to have a field spell out. And it just drives me nuts. Like, okay, if it's okay for anime boss monsters, okay? For being in the anime. But if this deck were to be printed, this guy would need so much more to be worth going into. I mean, yeah, you'd have him in your extra deck for the off chance that you actually need to. Like, let's say your opponent's going to Castell one of these two, and you have a set fusion, and you're going to go like, okay, I'll just chain and summon this guy, and then your opponent's just going to laugh as they Castell that one, or 101 it, or do something to it. Because it has no protection, and it's so underwhelming. All it does is drop the attack of a fusion or a synchro. And you have to have a field spell. Like, it's just... This thing's supposed to be the boss monster? That's my issue. I mean, like, it's a cool boss monster, like, design-wise and everything, but it's just so underwhelming, and I'm just repeating myself at this point. So, will this deck ever be printed? Honestly, I'm at this point. I'm at the point where I don't think it ever will be. Like, really, honestly... What is it? 9, 10 cards with the field spell that is not on YgoPro. It hasn't been printed. There's no clues to it being printed. We've missed both times where it would be perfect to be released, like Destiny Soldiers and Fusion Enforcers would have been both prime times to release it, because it is a fusion oriented deck. I mean, look at it, more fusions than synchros, which is hilarious considering the anime storyline where this thing was used, where this archetype was used. So I would really like to see it being printed, but I don't think it ever will be, which really, really sucks. Now, if it were to be printed, I feel like Geo Gremlin and Geo Gremlina are pretty much fine as they are now. I feel like Geo Gremlina could do something else, like if your opponent if you gain life points or something, just simply to make that combo a bit better. Geo Griffon, if I were to change anything about him, make it to where he doesn't target and make it to where he can destroy anything. Geo Kraken's fine as he is. They would probably add something to him. As I already said, Glacial Bolus needs so much to be a worthwhile boss monster for the amount of just effort you need to go into it. Stone Sweeper, I feel like they could maybe add something to it, like maybe make it to where when you special summon it, you can special summon a Earthbound Tundra from your hand. I feel like Line Walker is pretty much as good as he is. I can't really think of what they could do to it. Like maybe make it to where when he goes to Graveyard, you can add a field spell to your hand or something. Groundkeeper is pretty much okay as he is. Maybe add some kind of graveyard effect. Underworld Resonance Synchrofusion. And also I think the dub name for it is like Harmonics Fusion or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. If it were to be printed, I feel like it should be exclusive to Earthbounds. Another big thing about Earthbounds is that they do really need more monsters. Like 2 to 3 more monsters is my big thing about the main deck. Needs more monsters. Earthbound Salvation would probably get a once per turn clause on it and would probably not be able to add itself back. Earthbound Fusion should really be able to fusion something from hand. I don't know what I would change about Prison. I feel like we could use 2 more seals, 1 for monsters, 1 for traps. And in beginning, the only thing I would really change about it is make it so where you don't need to have the life point thing. And then of course Tundra, just erase everything that says action in it and then make it to where it just revolves around just regular cards. Then again, Tundra might be a bit too broken. So, I don't know, maybe I'm going the complete and total wrong way with this, but let me know what you guys think about Earthbound Servant, Earthbound Prisoners. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to name this video. I'm probably going to just call it Earthbound Servants, or, Earthbound Prisoners since they're main deck monsters. So, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you guys had a great day and enjoyed the video. If you have any ideas for what this deck could be done with, like what Konami could do with it if they were to print it, and what they should do with it in your opinion, please leave the comments down below. I do read your comments. I don't always reply, but I do read every single comment, or at least I try to. Yeah guys, thank you all for watching. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. See you all later, and peace out.